who I will introduce, my wife, Lisa.
To Lisa.
Yay.
She just got recruited 5 minutes ago. Be kind to her.
We will be, Rabbi.
Okay.
I am not a professional.
Florence, you better hold your words until you hear her.
Is that what you think of me?
Rabbi, it's not, I don't see it on YouTube.
It'll be there in about 1 minute. You have to be in the right spot.
It's on Facebook.
It is on Facebook?
On YouTube. It says
I just
live
got
on
a
custom streaming
notification.
services. We should be everywhere right now. So I'm now going to mute everyone. We're not having a lucky night at this, though. You cannot unmute yourselves, mute all. I'm going to quickly change the view to speaker. Let me get my background blurry so you don't have to see my garden behind me. There we go. So let's see what we can do. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Oh, I can't hear you. We're not live. But let's all wave Shabbat Shalom to each other. We should be streaming everywhere. And as I mentioned just a moment ago, for some reason, Joel Stein, who I was talking to via Zoom 2 days ago, was aware he's doing a service. And I don't know what happened to him. I hope he is safe and I hope he is healthy, because Joel Stein has been present for so many of our services, substituting for Cantor Noah. And I've been texting him, etc. So we hope he is healthy and good. And this was just a forgetful moment, because in today's world, I'd much rather it just be a forgetful moment. So my wife, Lisa, is going to be Cantor Lisa tonight. Please call her Cantor Lisa. So tonight's service, I was thinking about what happened a year ago. I was thinking about what happened on January 6th. And I even went back to the service we did a year ago on January 8th. And I looked at it. I looked at what we were saying and how we were feeling. And you could, within the service, you could tell that we were feeling the strains that were being placed upon our government, upon our democracy. That's because a year and a day ago, our democracy was attacked. As we all know, the Capitol was overrun by rioters, and those rioters were composed of white supremacists and anarchists who were not being stopped in any way by then President Donald Trump. As the reports have come out, we know that he refused to do anything that would have helped end this democratic crisis. But people, those who cared about, our government, those officers, those police officers, those National Guardsmen, those local police forces, they came in and they were able to quell what I can only call an uprising. And I remember the images, how after midnight, Congress finally reconvened. I believe it was just the House reconvened to do the final count to confirm that Biden had won an election. These people who really are still showing the trauma from having to hide in their own chambers, they still followed through on the democratic process. They would not let it be stopped. So we have to continue to believe in a nation ruled by a democratic process. We need to still believe that our nation was created for all, regardless of race, creed, religion, gender. And when these ideas are attacked, we must move strongly to stop the undermining of who we are, the undermining of our government. So 1 year ago, so many people came to the defense of our nation. And today we have to remain vigilant if we want to fight against totalitarianism. And because of the unrest, I wrote a prayer that I shared at the beginning of the service just 1 year ago. And I wanted to share that prayer with you all right now. Misha berak avatenu v'imatenu. May the God of our ancestors bless those who represent us in Congress. May they be given the courage to continue to do the people's business. And as they do, may they be safeguarded from harm. Misha, may the God of our ancestors bless those on the front lines protecting our democracy. May they be given strength to fight ignorance as they themselves are threatened with harm. And as they defend, protect them from the risks they take to keep us and our democracy safe. And together we say, Amen. So now I'm going to turn to tonight's Cantor. She doesn't even have an outline in front of her. She is that amazing. So we're going to begin with Shalom Aleichem on page 142. Sing along. She won't be able to hear you, but if you're singing loudly enough and you can hear her voice, then you'll be singing along, and she would love to have everyone singing with her. So we're on page 142 for Shalom Aleichem. I'm going to add my wife to the screen. Lisa, you ready to unmute yourself? Here we go.
Just trying to get to the right page. Hang on. Here we go. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharei, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bohem LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruni LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sehem LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
I see Lisa's getting a round of applause. Thank you, Lisa. I'm going to replace the spotlight right now. So Lisa, just to let you know, we'll next be doing Lachado D on page 138, so you might want to start looking for that. So Lachado D is that song we sing every Friday night. And we learned that repetition does certain things to our brains. That's why we like repeating things. That's why we have favorite songs. Pretty much creates channels in our brain, which gives us comfort and pleasure and joy. And so we sing this every week. And because we do it with regularity, we are creating joyous moments. We're going down those joyous pathways. We are reminding ourselves that we can always return to joy, and that pattern creates joy, and that Shabbat each week creates joy. So I'm going to go back to Lisa, and she's going to be doing Lachado D, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. But if she says last verse, then we're going straight to 9, all right, just to let everybody know. So now I'm going to get back to Lisa. Here we go. Unmute yourself, Lisa.
Lecha lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat lekabela. Lecha lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat lekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. Hishmianu el hamiuchad Adonai echad ukshemo echad. L'shem ufetia likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lehu v'nechad. Ki mechor havercha merosh mikedem nesucha. Nof masecha v'mashava lecha lecha dodi. Ligrat kala. Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi. Ligrat kala. Penei Shabbat nekabela. Petoreri, kiva orek umeori, uri, shirdaberi, kevod Adonai alach nida la lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi, likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekavela. Boi v'shalom aterech bala. Gam v'simcha u'v'torah. Merosh mikedem nesucha. Boi chala lecha dodi. Ligrat kala. Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi. Ligrat kala. Penei Shabbat nekabela.
Yasher Koach, that was wonderful. We've been singing that around the Shabbat table for a lot of years. And for once, Lisa doesn't have to hear me singing off key in her ear. Correct, honey? You can just nod from wherever you are. So before we knew that Joel wasn't going to be able to make it tonight, or we actually don't know why he can't make it tonight, Elisa was going to light our Shabbat candles. So she's going to do double duty right now and light the candles and also lead us in the candle blessing. And as she lights those candles, Shabbat fully enters our homes and our hearts. So let me highlight her. There we go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And so now we're all going to rise for the Baruch Hu, the call to worship. And as we rise, we're rising to say we're ready to enter prayer. And as we enter our prayer, we should be opening our hearts and our souls to God, to holiness, to that spirit of reaching out, to that spirit of goodness that should be part of each one of our lives. So let's all rise right now for the Baruch Hu. Lisa, please unmute yourself.
Lai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Baruch Hu Adonai, Hamevo Mevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Please remain standing. Shema means listen. And I think each year around this time that we're not listening enough. And each year, just as New Year's Eve passes, I think we need to stop and listen to ourselves. Spend an hour, a day, a weekend, and listen to what we say to others, how we interact. How do our words sound? We so often forget that our voices can be harsh to others when they don't sound harsh to us. Our words could sound like they aren't being, serious enough when we mean them to be serious. We need to listen to how we're coming across. If we want to be, holy, if we want to do the godly, then we need to listen to our own voices to see how we are perceived. So I challenge each one of you as we move into this new year to spend an hour, a day, a weekend listening to your own voice. Listen to it carefully so you can understand how and why people react to you as they do. So let's take a moment to cover our eyes. Let's take a deep breath in. Let's hold it. And let's let it out. I'm going to mute myself and Lisa will lead us in the Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Mahaluto Leolam Va'ed.
You may be seated. Let's just see if I can adjust my camera for a minute there. So we're going to move on to the Micha Mocha, found on page 158. We're going to go past the V'ahavta. I don't feel like testing my wife like a bat mitzvah student tonight. And so we find the Micha Mocha on 158. Micha Mocha, who is like you, Adonai, who is like you amongst the gods. How do we take ourselves and become examples, of what is good and what is right? How do we rise above when everything around us, is not going very well? How do we find a way to rise above when life is just filled with too many challenges? Micha Mocha. How do we rise above those waters that want to suck us in? Micha Mocha. How do we cross that sea of reeds? How do we do these things so we can better ourselves, better our world, and better our community? Lisa?
I'm trying to figure out which tune I should use.
Any tune you like.
Anybody have their favorite one?
No one can be unmuted right now, honey, so you're going to have to pick one. You want me to offer a suggestion, or do you need a tune to start out with? Mi chamocha bailim
Adonai mi kamocha nedar bar kodesh nora tehilot o sefelech nora tehilot o sefelech ma'alechutecha ranu vanecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe Miriam Daily ve'ameru Adonai lo le Adonai lo leolam va'ed mi hamocha ba'elim Adonai mi hamocha nedar ba'kodesh norati lo o sefelech norati lo o sefelech.
For being put on the spot, you're doing a great job. Thank you, Lisa. Vishamru, if you've got a book, we are on page 162. Lisa, I was just going to read Vishamru, unless you would like to sing it. Give me a thumbs up if you'd like to sing it. If not, I was just going to read it. Great. So Vishamru, the English translation, the people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all times. There's a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from work and was refreshed. That's the whole idea. We have a relationship with that is holy, and we have to honor that relationship. We must strive to be in the presence of that which is holy, and then we have to take time to be refreshed. Vishamru, page 162. Please, Lisa.
Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam beridolam Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam beridolam B'nei uvein B'nei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti leolam. Veshamru B'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam beridolam. Ki sheshig yamid asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam beridolam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat ve'inafash Shabbat ve'inafash veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam beridolam.
We now turn to page 371 for the Misha Berach prayer. When we say the Misha Berach, we're really saying to God and saying to one another that someone in my life is suffering. They might be suffering from physical health issues, spiritual health issues, emotional health issues. And we're saying to the community, these people, well, we love them, we care about them. And we want you to know that we are trying to help them, but maybe you too can help them. So tonight, on our Misha Berach list, Eric Anderson, Jim Anlin, Richard Barrett, David Berger, Bella Kane, Gil Cherish, Miles Dietz, Micah Enberg, Diane Fantel, Sharon Feist, George Gugassi, Bonnie Halpern, Bill Harris, Jessica Israelite, Sarah Knopf, Ramon Lucindo, Adrian Martison, Jackie Jean Michaels, David Nodal, Bryn Pime, Brandon Rapport, Brendy Rosenblum, Beverly Rosov, Lisa Sage, Marvin Sagerman, Gail Silva, Rose Sillerick, Esther Weissman, Eric Smith, Henny Weisvogel, Julie Stein, Devorah Chaya Bat Miriam V'Svi Tov, and Svi Hillel Ben Ratzallah V'Yesha Yahuwah. If you have additional names, please put them into our chat window right now. Jody and Jeff Cole, Ron Ferdman, Debbie Schwartz, Betty Wallens. And if you're on one of the other online venues, Facebook or YouTube, read the names out loud that are being shared with you, because I cannot see those. But read them out loud so they're being said in another venue besides the person's home who's typing them in. Take a moment. Misha berach avatenu v'imatenu. May the God of our ancestors grant refuah shlema, a complete and full healing to all those named tonight and to all those we hold in our hearts. Together we say, Amen. Lisa?
Misha berach avotenu Mekor habracha Laimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha berach imotenu Mekor habracha Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We now turn to page 164 for the Amidah. The Amidah is the standing prayer. It's the prayer where we rise and we say to God, thank you. Thank you for all the blessings in our lives. And on a daily basis, we say this prayer. There are actually a series of 19 requests of things that we want to occur on this earth. On Shabbat, there are only 2. We thank God for this day and for this Sabbath. But, well, we always have to remember the Amidah is about a better world, a world where each thing that we thank God for is actually already occurring. So even if it's not occurring in our world, we don't care. We're moving to that point of perfection. So let's say thank you for that. We're all going to rise right now. I'm going to mute myself. We're on page 164. We'll do Adonai Sivatai Tiftach. Lisa, do you want to do the first paragraph after that? The first 2 paragraphs? Okay, so whenever you stop, that's when we're going to pray silently. Let's rise.
Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufi Agi Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, Mekoneh HaKol, Bezocher Hasdei Avot ve'Imaot, Umevi Geula Lifnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo He'ahava, Melech Hoser U'Moshia U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham, Bezrat Sarah.
We will now pray silently. When you're done with your silent prayer, you may be seated. So I'm going to go directly into tonight's sermon because Lisa has been put on the spot tonight, and I don't think it's fair to ask her to do a piece that gets us out of the Amidah. And she's done such a wonderful job so far. I don't want to throw her for too many loops. Remove this death from me. Those are the words Pharaoh says to Moses as the the seventh plague. The eighth plague is occurring. And that eighth plague is locusts. And it was believed that the locusts were so dense, it was like the dark of night. They block out the sun and they darken all of Egypt. And Pharaoh begs Moses, remove this death from me. And so it was done. The locusts, the harbingers of death, well, they're blown away by a sea wind. If only dealing with death and illness and destruction and disease and darkness was as simple as the request Pharaoh made to Moses and to God. If only the plagues of our lives could be blown away by a sea wind, forgotten the moment they disappear from before us. Wouldn't that be grand? Remove this death from me, says Pharaoh to Moses. Now, if Pharaoh were a congregant and Moses was his rabbi, well, I'd recommend that Pharaoh change congregations. Let's admit it, Pharaoh and Moses had a codependent relationship. Pharaoh would find himself in trouble and would beg Moses for help. And then Moses would petition God to remove the plague, and the plague would be removed, and Pharaoh would then return to his old pattern of life. And this happened again and again and again. Pharaoh was neither able to adjust to a different way of life nor to learn lessons from the plagues because Moses kept removing them. The Pharaoh wanted to believe that life does not change, that a simple request can make things go back to the way they were. How often have we wanted things to go back to the way they were, especially over the last 2 years? But life does change. Sometimes change occurs gently, but sometimes change, growth, occurs through plagues. Remove this death from me. Well, I'm sure that's been said by a mourner who has just lost someone they love. You see, we don't want to mourn, we don't want to remember, we want the presence of death just removed from us. We want to avoid the tragedy which hangs around us like a dark cloud when we are in mourning. And so often, like Moses, we remove the death that surrounds us. We shorten our shivas and we too quickly go back to our daily lives. We immerse ourselves in work or school or just life. Whatever takes away the death, that's the route we so often select. Now, the Hasidic master, Rabbi Yitzhak of Vorki, he once said, in order to really live, you must give yourself to death. But when you have done so, you discover that you are not to die, but to live. Think about that. In order to really live, you must give yourself to death. But when you have given yourself to death, you discover you are not to die, but to live. In other words, it's only when we embrace whatever life has in store for us that we are truly alive. And Rabbi Yitzhak spoke of embracing death, but his words hold true for any plague that confronts us. When we run from the plagues in our lives, when we ignore them, when we pretend they do not exist, they control us. But when we embrace our losses, our pain, our challenges, we can find a path forward. Remove this death from me. I can hear Adam saying that to God. See, there's a story that's taught by our rabbis. When Adam, on the day of his creation, saw the setting of the sun, he said, alas, it's because I have sinned that the world around me is becoming dark. The universe will now become again void and without form. This then is the death to which I've been sentenced from heaven. So Adam sat up all night fasting and weeping. And when dawn broke, he said, probably with a lot of joy in his heart, this is the usual course of the world. The usual course of the world. We learn lessons when we live through the darkness of night, through the darkness of a plague. In this case, didn't Adam learn about light? Didn't Adam, learn about the cycle of day and night? Didn't Adam learn about life? We live through plagues because we are determined to live, determined to survive, determined to love, determined to support those we love. Remove this death from me. I can hear a firefighter saying that to the approaching flames. You see, I once met a firefighter when I was doing a documentary on forest firefighters, and he was midway through a career fighting forest fires. And one night, over a couple of beers, he told me a story. You see, he had spent the day constructing a fire line against a forest fire when the wind suddenly changed direction. And it sent the fire charging toward him. And the fire line wasn't wide enough to protect him. The flames were jumping over it. So he ran away from the flames, from the plague, but he couldn't outrun it. And he found himself cornered, nowhere to go, and he thought that death was about to touch him. He knew that death would descend upon him if he didn't do something. So he took fate into his own hands. He ran into the flames. He ran into that plague and he confronted it head on. Because he knew that somewhere on the other side of that fire was an area that was not burning. Somewhere on the other side of that plague was the potential for life. He ran, and an eternity later, he found himself on the other side, a bit singed, but still alive. Just like Adam, he woke to a day renewed. Unlike Adam, he did not let the plague control him. He saw the plague and ran toward it. He embraced that plague and he survived. Remove this death from me. I think we say that each day ever since COVID entered our lives. A sea wind can blow locusts away. The plagues of our lives are not so easily dispersed. We can't hide from the pain of death and loss. We can't wish away an illness. We can't keep people from suffering. We can only help others through the plagues of their lives by teaching them not to fear plagues, but to accept them without denial, to allow them to become part of their lives without taking over their lives, and to share their knowledge of their plagues with others so they can aid them, so others can aid them in their struggles. Ultimately, we learn more about life, embracing our grief, than we will ever learn from denying it. Ultimately, we learn more about life running toward the fire than away from it. Ultimately, we learn more about life by learning from a night of darkness. Instead of asking for death to be removed, let us ask to fully embrace each moment, regardless of the emotion it holds. Shabbat Shalom. So on this night, that is, had a few hiccups. We have no board host. I do see a couple board members, but for some reason, nobody was listed. So I was handed the board announcements. So I apologize if someone was supposed to be saying them who's here. If you have, you can just chat me right now. All right, so a few announcements. Thank you to Rabbi John Hanish and Cantor soloist Joel Stein. So thank the Cantor who is not here. So I will give the biggest thanks to my wife, Lisa, who got to be our Cantor tonight. Adult B'nai Mitzvah starting this Sunday. Not too late to join the class. If you're interested in joining the class, send me an email tomorrow and I will get back to you. I think everyone has my email address. If not, call my phone number in the office and it has my cell number on it. Poker tournament has been postponed. I'm guessing because of COVID. I know because of COVID. We will have a new date soon. Our annual gala, May 14th, put that into your calendar. And our preschool, it's growing. We've quadrupled the size over the last month, literally 4x larger than it was back in December. Quite the achievement, but we'd like to have a few more students. So if you know of anybody who needs a preschool. And always keep your eyes on emails from Kol Tikvah. So now we are going to do the Mourner's Kaddish. You'll have to give me one moment because I need to call up the Mourner's Kaddish list. We turn to page 598 if you have a book. I'm also going, Rob, that poker date is up in question at this moment. That's why I didn't announce it. It might be moving from the date you put in. We're on page 598 if you have a book. I'm also going to very quickly put the Mourner's Kaddish in the chat window. And if you have additional names for our Kaddish, please add them to the chat window. Let's take a moment. Let's take a moment and center ourselves as we remember those who passed. On our recently departed list, Charles Nathan Wallens, remembered by the Moline family. Milt Morris, remembered by the Bluestone, Morris, and Reifold families. Jerry Feldman, remembered by the Pine and Feldman families. Lenny Pasternak, remembered by the Pasternak family. Gertrude Drucker, remembered by the Dorn and Drucker families. And Rebecca Mann, remembered by the Ames and Mann families. We also think about those who died during this season in years past. Herman Barish, Barbara Bates, Bella Bloom, Annette Nettie Cohen, Ray Cole, Gilbert Davidson, Jack Diamond, Marlene Epstein, Marilyn Essex, May Kishner Fine, Samuel Fischler, Jack Fladell, Debbie Friedman, Harry Groner, Neil Hoffman, Irving Holtzman, Ruben Holzkenner, Harry Kodik, Sylvia Leeson, Sylvia Levy, Dora Levinson, Jeanette Mann, Farhad and Moshe Marabi, Herbert Pass, Lila Sassoon, Estelle Schaefer, Howard Schwartzer, Ann Silver, Jay Slack, Alex Steingeiser, Sidney Olberg, Michael Warner, and Evelyn Weingross-Wiley. And added to this list, I see we have Debbie Friedman, who was already mentioned. Is there anyone else people would like to add to our Kaddish list? All right, I'm going to ask you to please rise. We have Sidney Poitier, Barbara Kojert added to the list. If you're in the first 7 days of morning Shiva, I'm going to ask you to rise. If you're in the first 30 days of morning Shloshim, I'm going to ask you to rise. If you're in the first year of mourning, I'm going to ask you to rise. And if you're observing a yortzeit, I'd now like you to rise. I'd now like the community to rise to show our love and our support for all those who remember and for all those who mourn. You can find the Mourner's Kaddish on page 598 or in your chat window. Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei Rabba, v'yalmad divrach chirutei v'yamlech malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei l'chol Beit Yisrael, v'galad v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba nevarak le'olam olamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'tadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha b'rechu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Damiran v'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabba min shmaya. v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mamav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. You may all be seated. May the one who makes peace on high grant peace to all who mourn, to all Israel, and to all humankind. I'm now going to have my wife join me on screen. Let me add her as a spotlight. And we are going to begin with our Kiddush. And we'll do a short Kiddush tonight. Lisa, why don't you unmute yourself? Let's see if we can do this together and see what happens.
Baruch
Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
And now we're going to raise up our challahs. Do we have challahs? And then afterwards, we're going to do our closing song because I'm a little out of order. I'm a little famished. So, Lisa, don't you also have a challah? I see Sam Wildman's. I'm going to add hers.
It's over there.
You want to go grab it?
No, it's okay.
Okay, Lisa makes some beautiful challahs tonight. Oh, I see Max. Don't worry, I'm going to give him challahs up here. Okay, let's see. Who else has? Am I missing people at this moment? I'm sure I am. Any other challahs? Don't see any challahs. All right. Perfect. Lisa, do you, oh my God, that is so strange. Sam Weiland looks like her head's become a challah. There we go. Lead us, please, honey.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz v'te'avon.
And everyone should need a little piece of challah. And now I'm going to ask Lisa to lead us in our concluding song. Here we go.
Oh, say shalom b'romav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oh, say shalom b'romav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oh, say shalom b'romav.
Can you, I couldn't hear Lisa. Could anybody hear Lisa? No. Sorry, honey. Her computer died. I could hear her singing through the wall that she stopped coming through my computer. You want to come in here and join us?
Computer died,
Her computer died.
so you can get rid of me.
Ready? Here we go. Try it one more time and we'll sing it together, honey. I'm following you.
Oh, say
Shalom b'romav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oh, say shalom b'romav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oh, say shalom b'romav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
And now I'm going to unmute everybody. You can now unmute yourselves. And I
Hold on.
Great job, Lisa.
Great job,
Lisa.
Well, thank you, Lisa, for saving the day.
Good job, Lisa.
Yeah.
Hi, Sharon.
In-house Cantor.
Hi, Lisa and John. Thank you. John, she makes you look great.
Of course. I was going to play the 3-minute video. If people want to see it, I don't know if people saw our holiday video.
Play it.
No.
So this is on Facebook. It was part of last week's service.
Can I do something here?
So, are you ready?
Yeah.
I just didn't see what happened to us.
Really?
I just didn't see what happened to us.
Please mute yourselves. for
Yeah,
some-
on the map. Nice music.
My wish for the Kol Tikvah community, simcha, joy for you, your family, and of course, our community. Have a great year.
May this year be a year of compassion, full of laughter and love.
Wishing everybody a very happy new year and hope that 2022 will be better than last year.
God willing.
Wishing you all a happy new year. Can't wait to see you when we come back.
My wish is that the ECC will grow and prosper and become the desired school of the entire West Valley.
Happy New Year, and may our preschool be filled with lots of children.
We miss you and we can't wait to see you when you get back. Bye.
May your year be filled with health and happiness.
Wishing everybody health, happiness, and lots of love.
Happy New Year, everyone. Can't wait to see you guys next year.
My wish for Kol Tikvah is that our community will continue to be blessed with Jewish values and that we continue to grow stronger together.
I hope this year is going to see a lot new faces, new members, and prosperity for the temple and our congregation.
My New Year's wishes and blessings for our community is that a Misha or a Sadie come forward with a phenomenal contribution.
I hope that in 2022 we can get back to the same sense of community that we had before COVID began.
I would like to do more things with the Jewish community, including Kol Tikvah and other Jewish organizations, including
Kol Tikvah, my place of comfort and reflection in the year 2022. For you, I wish continued growth and prosperity.
Wishing everybody a good, happy new year.
My prayer for Kol Tikvah in 2022 is increased friendships and community and security for our temple.
My wish is for spiritual growth and awareness of the U.S. Jewish community with their local synagogues.
And my wish for Kol Tikvah is for everyone in this community to look at ourselves and recognize how wonderful it is to be a part of this great, wonderful family. I hope in the coming year that Kol Tikvah grows as a community, but retains the small town feel that we so enjoy.
My wish for the new year is for Kol Tikvah to come out of this pandemic with our existing congregation and all our new members to be able to celebrate together.
My wish for our Jewish community is that it will continue to serve as a beacon of justice in troubling times.
And my wish for this coming year for Kol Tikvah is for our whole community and hopefully new members for our community to thrive and be healthy and happy, and for our clergy, staff, and congregation to be healthy and happy. Happy New Year.
Very nice.
very nice,
Very nice.
very nice.
I
Yes.
love that.
Very nice.
Kumbaya.
Yeah.
Kumbaya.